I'm going to record it to my computer. Um, any questions? Cece, you get those links to the decab stuff?
Hey, sorry, I thought I was talking on mute.
Uh,
I did get the one that you sent me. Is it only one form for them to verify?
yeah, there's only
Uh,
one form to verify. Then the other two forms are a strategic development plan, and I can't remember what the other one is. There's only one form that they fill out and then upload their document. I'll go over it with you.
okay, perfect.
All right.
Hey, Cece.
Hello.
Kind of joining. You can't access MailChimp? Okay. All right, Don. I'll check into that. Send me an email to that effect, Don, and I'll send it right to them. They have a spreadsheet that I can fill out when you guys say you have issues. I can put it on there. I can take it up another level. So send me anything that's going on, and I'll see if I can address it. And see where we're going there. All right, how many people we got? 17. I'd like to get some more in. Anybody have any questions for me while we're sitting here waiting before I let Mr. Dorsey take it over?
Mark, it looked like a few people had emailed and said they didn't get the link for today.
Yeah, that's kind of not kind of impossible because I sent it out when that's why I sent it again. I just sent it a few minutes ago. And hold on one second here. Let me make sure I sent it. It's in the original invite. Then I just sent it again. I don't have any emails saying that people didn't get it, but I did just send it again. Just as
Yeah,
a
the first
reminder.
time you sent it was the link wasn't in there, but then
Okay.
when you just sent it out at 5:49, like yeah.
Yeah, I just realized that because Andrea said that she didn't get it, but it was in the original calendar invite. It was in there. So it doesn't really matter. I sent it out. This Ellis told me she didn't get it, so I just sent it to everyone.
Okay. So I have a question because and I'm still trying to see and make it work because I'm one of the ones that's in the Intuit program.
Uh-huh.
And I know we have a meeting scheduled for I'm not the Intuit, I'm sorry. The Goldman Sachs. So we meet on Mondays and it's
Mm-hmm.
like from is it I think 5 to 5:45. Then again at no, wait, it's an hour. Five, I don't know. But it's kind of over, I can't think right now, but it's kind of overlapping for us to meet later in the month.
I
So,
tell you what, I didn't know when they started that program. The Goldman Sachs kind of has their own schedule. Let's get together and sit down and just look at the calendar, and so we can kind of figure out what we need to do to keep you in line with what we're doing with Intuit and with Goldman Sachs. We can figure something out. We just need to get together and just figure out your
okay.
schedule and what actually does conflict. And then as long as we can get in front of it, I think we can do better instead of just letting it happen. I didn't know they
Okay.
started up that program. I'm glad
Yeah.
you got accepted into it. That's great. That's fantastic.
Yeah, it's a really good program. This is the second, like full, no, I think we're in 3 weeks, but this is the
Okay.
second full week of the
Okay.
program.
Congratulations. They say that's a fantastic with this
Thank you.
program and that program, you should be a superstar when you get
Right,
through.
right. Felicia's in too. Who
Yeah,
else
and
is
Felicia Heard.
here?
Yeah, I heard she's in there. You guys should be superstars when you guys get out of You finish this program and Goldman Sachs.
Right.
You should have your back
Millionaires
office.
in the making.
Yeah, yeah. You should have your back office straight and your front office. I mean, everything.
Yeah.
You should be good. I see. Tanya, did you want to say anything before I let Marcus loose on him?
No, I just wanted to say hello to everybody. I know there was an email that went out to folks that maybe either haven't been in touch with their experts or are still needing some documents that need to be returned. I know there were a couple folks that thought that they were in communication with folks and maybe got that email by error. If that's the case, we apologize. We just received a list from the team on some follow-up that needed to happen. So if you did get that and you're all good, please work with us and we'll make sure you are recorded as being all set. It's just mostly to make sure you're getting what you need in and getting the most from that expert team. So thank you to everybody. Naomi and I are always here for you. As always, I think everybody has our information. This call happens at the same time as Atlanta, and we're down a few folks on the team, so I do need to hop over to that one and share the same message. But again, apologies if you received that and you have been in communication. And then if you did receive it and you have questions, just as always, feel free to reach out. And it's always a pleasure to see you all, and I hope everybody's doing great.
Everyone is. All right, thank you, Marcus.
I'm here.
You can take it over anytime you want. Tonight, we're going to be talking about, financial planning and the foundations for small business. Marcus is going to go through a presentation on that, since he's our resident guru on everything money. So, all right, Marcus, I gave you rights to share.
Okay.
And you should be able to share. If there are no more questions from me, I'll let Marcus do what he does. And I'll be here at the end in case you do have any questions. Unless Marcus puts us to sleep.
Hasn't happened yet, sir, but there's always a first time.
Yeah, all right, okay.
So before I get started, I will say while I'm getting everything queued up, please forgive any untidiness you see in the background. It is the middle of tax season, so there's a lot of files and papers everywhere behind me. Thank you very much, Mark and Urban League, for having me and allowing me to present this session in your cohort and Intuit.
Yeah, he said, "Oh, right on." When I told him that was the amount.
Somebody needs to.
I muted her.
Okay, so thank you very much again for allowing me to present and participate in your cohort. Allowing me to present on a topic that I'm extremely passionate about. The one reason I'm so passionate about taxes and accounting and just business in general is that's always been a love of mine, all three of those things. And I love speaking and talking to people about business in general, because a lot of times as business owners, entrepreneurs, self-employed people, however you want to describe us, what I've found over the years is there are a lot of things that we as business owners don't really know about being a business owner. The majority of us literally wake up one day and or I won't say wake up one day, but the majority of us, when we decide to don our jobs and strike out on our own to become a business owner, the only thing we usually know, what we really know about what we're doing is how to do whatever it is we're doing. If we're mechanics, we know how to tune an engine, how to change an oil, install a header and things of that nature. But we generally don't have any idea of the other side of the business as far as like the administrative side of running a business. So I like to explain to people and try to help them get to a good place where they are actually running a business. With that being said, we'll look at this first slide and we'll kind of talk about this a little bit, talking about the financial foundation for small business success. Does anyone, so the slide is there. says about 82% of small businesses fail. But does anyone have any ideas as to why that is? And I'm open for hands raised or however we need to go about doing that. But I'd like to have participation when I'm speaking.
I would
Cindy,
just say poor planning or not having the business backing of what we're doing.
Okay.
Candy has her hand raised. Candy.
Okay. Candy.
Yes, I was going to say a good business plan for the business, a short term, a medium, and a 5 year.
Okay. Very good. Very good. Those are definitely good ideas, and those definitely contribute to it. The downfall of businesses, and yes, it's due to it's so this the slide states that it's due to financial mismanagement. But what leads to that is hit the next slide. Down. Let's see. What leads to that is these things here, not understanding the financial statements as they happen. And what I mean by that is, I'm sure we've heard other speakers as well as myself mention to you or talk to you about you need to have your financial statements. You need to have a profit and loss. You need to have a balance sheet and a cash flow statement. So yes, these statements are needed, but no, I don't think anyone really goes into I won't say a deep dive, but just goes into what these statements actually are telling you about your business. And when I talk to other colleagues, other people in the profession of accounting, bookkeeping, um, CPAs, when I talk to others in my profession, we all have the same. We all have the same, I won't say complaint, but we have the same observation. We all observe the same things, that when our business clients, when they, for whatever reason, whenever a meeting is canceled, um, those meetings very rarely actually get rescheduled. So for the business owner, what that means is when business owners actually have professionals such as myself and others in their corner, to where they have the people to provide them with these statements, balance sheets, profit and loss statements, cash flow statements. When they actually have these statements, and the professional wants to meet with them to review those with the business owner, um, those meetings are generally the first meetings that are canceled and the hardest to have them to get rescheduled. Furthermore, what we've also learned is the business owners that are newer in business are faster to cancel these meetings. People who have been in business for a while, they tend to understand how important these meetings are. And to put that in perspective, um, personally, when I was in corporate America and I was there for 18 plus years, maybe a little longer, depending on how you want to count it. And all of those years were in accounting and finance departments. I would say out of all those years, there may have been a total of 5 meetings that ever got canceled and were not rescheduled. 5 in a period of 20 years. So that shows you how important these meetings are. And if they're that important to businesses and larger organizations, they have to be just as, if not more important, to smaller businesses especially newer businesses, so that they can know, and you should utilize these as opportunities um, to find out what's going on with your business. And in the event that you have a meeting with your professional and it is needs to be rescheduled or what have you, make sure that you reschedule that meeting and have that meeting, because it's very, very, very important that you know and understand what's going on with your business. Are there any questions around that or comments? So, and in given that information, when we look at budgeting and we look at budgeting strategies, we have a pyramid here that shows you have a baseline budget. We go to expense categories and then revenue forecasting, then strategic goals. So you build on when you're building your financial plan and telling your financial story, we start with the baseline budget. Now, these numbers and percentages here they are an example. It may or may not work like that for everyone, because different industries will have um, different goals and different percentages as far as expenses and things of that nature. But this is here to provide you with an outline of what the types of things that you should be looking at and utilizing to help you run your business. So I'm going to ask everyone a question. When you are working on what is your process going from year to year as far as understanding your expenses? Do you actually have a budget, or do you know what your expenses are going into the year, and so are you looking to reduce your expenses, keep them about the same, or maybe increase them a little bit, or maybe increase some expenses while keeping other types of expenses stagnant or the same? So these are questions that you should be asking yourself when as you're going into the new year. Does anyone have any questions about that, or any comments, or what have you?
Yes, sir. Are you speaking about fiscal year or regular year?
That's a very good question. How many people, before we get into that, how many people in here understand the difference between a fiscal year and a regular year? And I'm not sure who asked that question, but can you explain to everyone else the difference between the two?
Well, my first answer is I don't know, but fiscal means financial. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so I think if some of us may have a different financial year. I know the city of Atlanta, I think their year ends in June. The financial fiscal year starts in July, so forth. So that's why I'm asking the question when you said budgeting strategies, and are you speaking of fiscal year or just January to December, which that could be our fiscal year. So.
Right. So to answer your question, typically most businesses, especially in the stage that you all are in, the majority of you all will have that there is not necessarily a fiscal year. You are on a calendar year. You are operating on a calendar year budget. If your business is a little more advanced or seasoned, and you have some different reporting requirements, you may actually be on a fiscal year. But generally speaking, I think majority of people that I'm speaking to on this call is going to be on a calendar year. But either way, you want to make sure that you have these thoughts you want to ask yourself these questions and make sure that you're doing these, you have the answers to these questions your going into the next year, your next season, budget season. So, who can tell me what month they should have their they should have these budgets and things together?
I don't know the answer to that, but if I had to guess, I would say the last quarter of the previous year.
Okay, who was that?
Renata.
You are cheating because I meet with you on a regular basis.
I didn't know that though. Yeah, you've been on me, but I didn't know the answer.
So I will say this. So yes, it does. It would be in the last quarter. Typically, you want to start working on your budget. If we go with the calendar year example, the year starts in January, so you want to have your budget and some of these questions answered in November. You want to start working on that. You want to start working on your budgeting in November, and I'm sorry, in October, and you want hopefully you can have it wrapped up and ideas together by November, because you want to spend December taking action and putting things in place so that when January comes, we're able to hit the ground running. I know that doesn't always happen, but best practices in an ideal situation, you want to do it and follow those dates, and put dates on the calendar, just like you put dates on the calendar for spring break and vacations and everything else. This is another process that, as a business owner, that should be on your calendar so you can start working on these things and have them done in a timely fashion. We have any questions, Mark?
I do not see any.
Okay, very good. So now we'll talk about cash flow management. How many of us, by a show, I'll ask people to raise their hand, just click the raise your hand button. How many of us check our bank balances, especially from the business perspective, on at least a weekly basis? Monthly? Mark, anybody raise their hand?
No, I don't see anyone raising their hand.
Okay. All right. So that's a good place to start. So cash flow management, that is when we're basically is exactly as it sounds, we're managing our cash flow. So we want to make sure we monitor that at a bare minimum. It should be weekly. If we can do it daily, that's awesome. You want to do all of the things that are on here. You want to build reserves as fast as you can, as well as you want to monitor your cash on a daily basis. At a bare minimum, it should be weekly. And so one thing we need to do, one of the suggestions that I have for us, for business owners, I like to ask them to, you should have a minimum of 3 accounts when you start your business. So if you don't have them already, you want to definitely, that's probably the first thing you want to do when you have another administrative days. You want to go out and make sure you open, you have these 3 accounts open. One is going to be your operations account. You're definitely going to need that. So you utilize your operations account from a perspective of when people transact business with you, that's where the majority of your checks, your money flows in and out of the operations account. So when you have sales, you sign a big contract or what have you, or any contract or any sales, that you want to deposit that money into your operations account, and then the majority of your expenses should be coming out of your operation account. So you want to do that from you want to have that account. The next account you will want to open would be a savings account, a business savings account, and you want to make consistent deposits into the savings account that you don't touch, though. So that's the whole thing about reserves. You want to make sure that you have this money set aside for the purposes of expanding and things of that nature. So whether it be a minimum amount or what have you, but you want to make sure that you're making regular deposits into this reserves account. And the last account that you want to have is a tax account. So that's really going to be a savings account as well, but you want to set aside money based on those financial statements. Let's see, where am I? Based on those financial statements, where we're talking about cash flow here, we want to make sure that we set money aside for paying taxes throughout the year. So we have those three accounts that we want to have those set up as quickly as possible if we don't already have them set up. And the next,
I have a question really quick.
Yes.
Okay, this is Kenyatta. So far as when you said the business account for taxes, would that be a business checking or savings?
That would be a savings account.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. So now funding options. So here we're talking about funding and or financing, going to going to banks, lenders, etc., for additional capital. So if we think back a couple of slides when we were talking about the financial statements, was a balance sheet, profit and loss statement, and cash flow statement. Those statements that we talked about a few slides back are extremely, extremely important, not only for you, but as well as for the people on this page as well. Meaning, a bank is not going to loan you money if you don't have those statements. As well as venture capital people, angel investors. Now, your mama and your uncle, they might loan you money without these statements, but a savvy investor will not. Whether it be an angel investor, venture capital investor, or what have you, they're not going to have it. And then, if I'm not mistaken, some of the alternative options as well, they generally require some sort of financial statement as well. So you want to make sure that you spend a good amount of time with your professional that is providing you with these financial statements so that they make sure that you understand what those the story that your financial statement is telling the world about the health of your business. And something else I will ask, another question I'll ask you, how many people actually work with someone to help them with their financial statements, or do we does everyone here kind of pretty much do it themselves? Cynthia, I see you raring to go to answer this one. Go ahead.
After close, all three major indices finished way up, with the NASDAQ up an astonishing
Cynthia?
But it's not all good news. That huge rebound down still leaves the markets well below where they were in February. And there are big questions hanging over all of this. Will these 90-day pauses become permanent? And just how high will prices go for consumers?
Anyone else? Let's see. Ruby.
Yes, yes, yes. I work with someone, and I think I have a what is that? Outlook online, Intuit online as well.
Okay. Okay. Very good.
Yes.
So you work. So the someone you work with, is it they're a professional? Is this what they do for a living, or is
Yes,
it
sir.
like? Okay. Okay. Very good.
I
Yeah.
have a tax guide as well. Yes.
Okay. Do you have a CPA?
Yes, he's a CPA. Yes.
Okay. Very good.
Mhm.
So the reason I asked that question is very important that you all have a relationship with a CPA, for a couple of reasons. But right now we're talking about it from a standpoint of when you are wanting to apply for a loan from a bank, they are going to require that a CPA produces or has or signs off on your financial statements based on if you are applying for that loan anytime outside of December or January. So if you're applying for a loan from a bank, they are generally going to require that if that loan application is for any time outside of January, the first 10 to 15 days in January, they're going to require that you have what we call interim financial statements signed off on by a CPA. So for those of us who do not have, for those of us who do not have CPAs, I would suggest that we start looking for for CPAs and start finding start building relationships with them, because if we think there's any modicum or if there's any chance of us wanting to utilize a bank for a loan, the banks are generally going to require CPA to sign off on on those interim financial statements. Next slide. And here are some accounting systems that we can utilize when preparing our financial statements. QuickBooks obviously is one, but there are some other ones that are out there: Zero, FreshBooks, Wave, Zoho Books. You definitely want to find something that you can utilize that you feel comfortable with using and have a good idea about how to use it. You are ideally you're by being in this program, you should definitely have a good idea about how to use QuickBooks, or because there are people here to assist you with that. But even with that being said, you still want to make sure that you have a relationship with a professional, because as I stated before, the banks are going to want to see financial statements signed off on by a CPA. Page down. Well, before I get to that, do we have any questions about any of that?
Mr. Dorsey, excuse me.
Yes.
This is Ruby again.
Yes, ma'am.
Are you going to talk about pricing our product? I mean, I'm finding that I'm doing a lot of in-kind work, and of course, so I am struggling with pricing. Is this the right workshop to be in, or am I in a different workshop?
We're not going to get into that specifically, but if there's time at the end of this, we can talk about. Go ahead, Mark.
You can actually just set a session up with me, Ruby, and we'll talk about that.
Okay. Thank you, Mark.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. Moving forward. Mark just appears out of nowhere, dun, 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 to save the day.
Yes.
So tax planning and compliance. This is my favorite topic of the program. This is what I do all day, every day, twice on Sundays, tax planning and compliance. We all talk about, I think that was I don't remember if it was Ruby or someone, but they mentioned that they had a tax guy, someone that prepares their tax returns. But as business owners, we need a higher level, or we should aspire to have a higher level of service. As a, best practices are going to tell us that in addition to having our taxes prepared, that's the minimum that we need to do. We should also have consulting. We should also be consulting with our tax person. We should not only see them once a year. Why is this important? Because when we are talking to our tax, we're talking to our tax advisor, um, we are making decisions about how we're going to operate our business moving forward. So, that meeting typically looks like we're having conversations, or at least our meetings look like, we're talking to the client about, their plans for the next 3 to 6 months. Think maybe it might be equipment they're buying. It may be we are coming up on a really busy part of the year, or we might be coming up on a really lean part of the year. So we might need to do some things and make some changes about how we're operating over the next couple of months based on the part of year we're in or what have you. So that happens in these quarterly meetings, and that will help with. So this is a part of the cash flow perspective, because if we know that we are going to be coming up on a slower part of the year, then we know that we need to make some adjustments on our cash flow, because we're not going to have as much money coming in um, due to the time of year. So if we go back to the example of the mechanic, Joe the mechanic is a client of mine, and we know so this is April, we know in May, starting in May, he's going to have a lot of tuning that he's going to do for these cars, and a lot of oil changes, and people are going to be buying new tires and things of this nature, because they're getting ready for summer trips and road trips, and just being out of the house. So they're going to be doing a lot of driving. So Joe is going to be flush with cash, because he's going to have a lot more clients and customers. So that might mean he needs to, I don't know, he might need to hire on a couple of mechanics part-time, somebody to help with the oil changes and and things of that nature, and maybe even someone to hire in the shop to help them keep everything tidy and clean up in the shop, because they're going to be so busy. But coming into September, we're having our meeting in September, and Joe, we're looking at the business and said, well, we know, Joe, um, normally in like mid-October, November, December, your sales plummet. So there's not going to be so much of a need to have little Johnny around helping out in the shop. And we can probably lay off the employee that we hired during the summer to help us out with running oil pans and things of that nature, and going to get tires. We can probably lay them off in the fall, or find something else to do for them, because we're not going to be as busy. Whereas we were having 200 people a week, we might be lucky to have 50 people in a month in the next couple of months, because it's going to be so slow, because people have other expenses, they have other plans for their money, and it's cold outside, so they won't be doing as much driving and doing as many things. So this is an opportunity. Maybe we can do something like spend some more time creating marketing materials and things of that nature, and you to maybe even try to get more people into the shop. So these are the type of planning conversations that you'll have, that I would have with Joe, going into the fourth quarter of the year, to help him keep his business a viable business. And that's always a good time when things are slow. It's always a good time to also um, sharpen up your skills, meaning maybe we can attend some conferences, see what's coming up that's new, in some new oils that might be coming out, some new products that we might be able to either sell in the store, or in the garage, or some new products that we might be able to utilize, or new tools we can purchase to help us run the business more efficiently. So that usually slow periods are a good time to do some of this research and things, do some of this research to help us run our business a lot better. So we're making use of all of our time as best as possible. So these are the types of things that we would talk about um, during these planning meetings, as well as other things from a standpoint of paying estimated taxes. We want to make sure we don't overpay the government our income tax liabilities. We want to make sure we don't overpay those liabilities, because that's essentially what a refund is. That means we had a tax liability, and then we paid too much on that tax liability. So the IRS or the state of Georgia is now giving us a refund. And as a business owner, it's critical that you understand that, so that you won't be looking for a refund, because that's one of the first questions I'm asked is, I thought I started a business so I could get a refund on my income taxes, and that's really not how any of that works. The but you want to make sure that there's a ongoing conversation. That's what tax planning really is. It's an ongoing conversation with between the business owner and the tax advisor. Then we will look at how am I doing on time? Okay, good. So now we will talk about financial risk and management. And so you want to also, during these meetings, you want to talk to your advisor about identifying risks. And this is why these financial meetings are so important, because we can, not only when we're looking at these financial statements, we are looking at we can see the impact of potential risks, and we can mitigate. This is another way of saying limit the exposure of that okay, so that we can mitigate the exposure that we have, or limit the exposure that we have, if we do run into a risk, or there is some sort of fraud or something of that nature. So which is, again, is another reason why you want to make sure that you run these financial statements and you review them on a regular basis, because if you're reviewing your financial statements, if something can be identified from the financial statements, you want to identify that as quickly as possible, and then so you can get started on correcting it, whatever the issue is. So if we go back and think back to people who prepare their financial statements once a year, and they do this only because they have to file a tax return. So they produce a financial statement at the end of the year to produce a tax return. And if they do it in aggregate, meaning they do all 12 months at one time, they still may miss something from a financial from a financial perspective, if something's going on from a financial perspective, because you're only looking at everything in a 12-month period. But if you're looking at it on a monthly basis and you identify an issue in February, something happened in February, so you're looking at your finances, you're looking at your financial statements in March. If there was an issue in February, you can now start correcting it in March, and hopefully it doesn't linger on through the end of March, and then we're back on the right foot and moving forward come April and May and going forward. But if we have the same situation where we have an issue in February, but we don't produce financial statements, so we don't have anything to compare to month over month, and December comes around, whatever the problem was in February, it has automatically recreated itself in March and April and May and throughout the rest of the year. And depending on what the situation is, if we can only see this issue by looking at comparative monthly financial statements, and we as a business owner only put together our financial statements on an annual basis, we may never uncover whatever this issue is. And so we could be bleeding money from this aspect for years. But if we're looking at it on a monthly basis and we have other months to compare to, then we will recognize right away, last year in February, the number was here and now it's here. And last month in January, the number was one number, and now it's a huge difference, but everything else remained the same. Then we know that we have an issue, and so we need to look into that. But that's again why we need to make sure that we have financial statements, but more importantly, not just having the financial statements, but understanding how to read those financial statements and understanding the story that those financial statements tell us about our business. And that's where having a professional such as a CPA or a CFO comes into play to help you with that. Pricing and profitability. This was the question that Ruby talked about, so we'll talk about this briefly. We want to make sure that we understand how to calculate our prices and how to set our prices. You can actually have a situation where you have your prices set too low, and you need to understand the best how to set your prices. I'll tell you a quick story. I had it wasn't a client, but there was a gentleman that I know that was building homes. I'm sorry. I had a client that was investing with another builder, and the client was telling me that the builder started building homes, but the builder they built two phases of a neighborhood. And during the first phase, they built something like 40 or 50 homes in the first phase. And believe it or not, they were losing money on every home they built in that first phase. And they didn't realize it. And it wasn't until they started moving to the second phase is when they realized, oh my God, we're losing money on all these homes. So it's very important that you have someone that looks over your pricing and understands profitability. They understand how to set margins, and sometimes you may need to recalculate your pricing based on situations and circumstances. Look at groceries. The price of eggs have probably tripled since this time last year because Well, I can't even tell you why the because is, but it's happened. So that's that's a clear example of how sometimes we have to reposition ourselves, repositions our businesses and our prices for certain products because of other things that are beyond our control. Are there any questions here?
For Mr. Dorsey, excuse me.
Yes, ma'am.
So in light of this current climate and where there's so much uncertainty, and I like your example, the price of eggs. I tell you, my goodness. So, so anyway, yeah, we have to try to keep up, right?
Right.
And, so we've already, we're losing because things have changed so rapidly. And so, how would a small business raise to the occasion here?
It's really simple, and there's a clear-cut example of this. If you look at, is anyone here ever eaten at Waffle House? Nobody's, has anyone even heard of Waffle House? Any hands? Okay. Miss Ruby at least heard of Waffle House. So what Waffle House has done, and it's funny, they put it in the paper and everywhere else. So when the price of eggs started to rise, continued to rise, Waffle House put out a press release and said, "Hey, we are adding a surcharge to any order that has eggs on it. We're adding 50 cents to the price of that food item as a surcharge until the price of eggs starts to come down." And so they said it, they put it in the media. And if you go in Waffle House now and you open it, you pull up a menu. I mean, not pull up a menu. If you look at a menu, it will say there's a little sticker on their menus, their laminated menus. There's a sticker on the outside that says we're adding 50 cents to the cost of this item because due to the increase in the prices of eggs. So it's just that simple. If you feel like you need to raise your prices for whatever the reason, do it. And I will say this, which is something that we don't do enough as business owners, is we don't ever raise our prices. Meanwhile, the cost to deliver whatever product we're delivering to our clients has increased. There are some people who have been in business for 10, 15 years and never raised their prices. Unheard of. The price of gas has gone up. The price of paper and electricity and everything has gone up, but yet still we as business owners do not raise our prices. If you are not raising your price even a little bit on an annual basis, you are losing money. So make sure now, if you are selling eggs, I'll just use this. If you're selling eggs, well, I won't use eggs, but if you are selling a widget and you haven't raised your prices in the last 15 years, you probably need to raise your prices. And if you raise your prices last year from $2 to $2.25, that's a moderate increase, and that's probably fine. Now you can't raise your prices. Well, I'm not gonna say you can't, but now raising your prices from $2 to $20 in a 1 year or 1 month time frame is probably going to raise some brows. You're probably going to lose a few clients or customers if that's the case. But you definitely should be raising your prices at least once a year. There is a book that I read about accounting, and the suggestion was that we should raise our fees at least 5% a year across the board. So this is a book that is telling so someone else who has studied the industry and does this for a living has stated that fees should increase on an annual basis. So, which is, if you think about it, everybody else's fees, the cost of living increases every year. But for whatever reason, we as business owners tend to think that everything else, it's okay for everything else to increase, but we have to keep our fees the same. And yeah, that's just not the way the world works. Well, that's not the way the world works for everything and everyone else. So please keep that in mind, because you're shooting yourselves in the foot if you're not raising your rates. Here is the topic of all topics, the one that my clients and I tend to fuss and fight about on an annual basis. And it's usually from a standpoint of the client doesn't want to do these things up front, but if I can convince them to do these things on an annual basis, 5-10 years down the road, the conversation that they have with me is always the same. I'm glad that I listened to you. I'm glad you made me do this, et cetera, et cetera. And what we're talking about here is, one, creating a reserve fund, putting some money towards infrastructure, team development, marketing, et cetera. Now, again, I will say this to everyone on this call. These percentages are guidelines. They are not, they're going to be different from a standpoint of, these percentages are going to be different from a standpoint of in different industries. They can fluctuate. So they might be higher, might be lower, depending on the industry that you're in, but let this serve as a guideline. It's not written in stone. So with that being said, you would want to, but assuming this holds true for your particular industry, you might want to put 20%, set aside 20% of your profits for infrastructure, and 25% for reserve funds, et cetera, et cetera. So and maybe for team development, hiring personnel, training programs, marketing. So in that 30%, I will say this on that the training person, the training programs and hiring key personnel. Please, ma'am, please, sir, understand and realize that those training programs are not only for your team, they are also for you. Make sure that you are keeping up with what's going on in your industry. You are attending best practices. You are attending conferences on a quarterly basis, an annual basis, to find out what's going on, what's new with your industry. I cannot stress that enough, because so many business owners, if I were to take a poll of people on this call and other calls that I've been on, if I take a poll and ask how many people have been to a conference about something in their industry in the last 3 years, in the last 5 years, the answer is always 1 or 2%. Very few people, and these are the owners of the company. So very few people are investing in themselves, and that's what training programs, and this is what investment looks like. This investment is not just money that you get and people are pouring into you so that they can get a return on their investment. This is also money that you are utilizing from your profits to invest in yourself, to grow yourself as an owner, as a leader, and as a thought leader in your industry, to learn what's going on new in your industry. What we do here is I so one, I have a mandatory as a CPA, as a licensed CPA, we have a mandatory licensing that so many hours we have to attend so many hours of continuing education every year. But what we do here is we go over and above that. We, you know, was April through December, we do about 10 hours a month as opposed to 20 hours a year. So again, we want to make sure that we are better educated and ready, able to help our clients as opposed to doing the bare minimum of what's required. And that is something that I would really challenge all of you to do as well. As you want to be, if you are in an industry where you have a minimum of CPEs or training or what have you that's required, I would like to challenge each and every one of you to do at least twice as much as the minimum requirement, so you'll be that much better than your competitors. Um, let's see. Any questions? Financial technology. So what we're talking about here is you want to see if you can and automation. So from an automation standpoint, you want to make sure that the things that you are doing every week, every day, every month, what have you, you if there's any way possible to automate some of that stuff, you definitely want to do that. So that will make your life, your job a whole lot easier so that you can deliver your product or service to the market more efficiently. Um, Automation is definitely the way to go, whether we're talking about payment processing or data integration or what have you. You definitely want to do that. Something else that's really important these days is um, security, information security. So because we are in such a digital environment now, it's very important that we follow whatever protocols are in place for our industry, where we can protect the data, whether it be um, personal information, like credit card information, addresses, as well as social security numbers, credit cards, etc. You want to make sure you protect that information to the best of your ability. Um, and you want to, like these reports we were talking about earlier, financial statements and financial reports, you want to make sure that you have whatever reports. Sometimes it's not that, it may be sales reports. So we're not quite sales reports is not they're not quite on the financial statement just yet, but the sales reporting, you want to make sure that you have a way to um, that those reports come to you on a regular basis at a regular point in time, et cetera. So and more importantly, going back to the automation piece, you want to make sure that you have time to review these reports on a regular basis and at a regular set day point in time in your schedule. So going back to the financial statement meetings, et cetera, you want to make sure that those meetings happen. And the best way to make them happen is to make sure that they happen at a regularly scheduled day and point in time every month or every week or whenever that happens. These financial performance evaluation, again, like some current, these are, we have growth rate, current ratio, accounts receivable, profit margin. Again, these are, these are some ideas that you want to take a look at. You want to what we call benchmark, which means you want to look at the average in your industry to make sure that you are holding close to those averages. And one of you may ask, well, how are we supposed to find out what the average is in our particular industry? So I'll give you that answer, and you find that out from talking to either other people in your industry, through attending conferences, or at least reading periodicals where you about your industry. So as a CPA, I'm not going to read um, home builders weekly trying to find out what the profit margin is for a CPA firm. Now, I might have a subscription to CPA Today and read that religiously, because that'll help me understand some of these other numbers and some of these other things that may be in this particular publication. But again, this comes from reading stuff that's industry specific. So, and as a home builder, if I have a home builder client, he's not going to read CPA Today because it's not going to help him in running his business. So you want to find a periodical. I implore you, I ask of you to please find some sort of periodical in your industry that comes out at a bare minimum a monthly basis, and you want to subscribe to it and read it cover to cover every single month. You want to read in that periodical, that magazine, or what have you. You want to make sure you read something in that magazine every single day. And it's going to seem like a chore at first, but you definitely want to do it. And if at all possible, you want to get to a point where you have read that entire magazine cover to cover. It may seem redundant. You may not get it at first, but keep doing it and keep at it. And at some point in time, do it for a year, do it for 2 years. At some point in time, something's going to click, something's going to snap, and then it will start to all make sense. But you can't do it today and tomorrow and say this doesn't make sense, and say this is a waste of time. Marcus, I don't know what he's talking about. He doesn't know what he's talking about, and throw it to the side. You can't do that. You have to give it a significant amount of time, because that is really what's going to help you in running your business. And as a business owner, you are almost required. You're probably required to. I'll say required. You're required to know what's going on in your business and how to best manage your business, both from a physical perspective as well as from a financial perspective and an administrative perspective. And this comes in reading these periodicals, attending these conferences, meeting with other professionals. That helps to make you a better business owner.
What's the name of that article you said?
What article?
Magazine, the magazine you were talking about?
What industry are you in?
I'm in the beauty industry.
Okay, so you would want to.
Toiletries.
I'm sorry, ma'am.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
So you want to find when I say that's industry specific magazine, you would want to find somewhere that has information about a beauty supply or something like that, or whatever you're doing in the beauty industry. That's the magazine you want to find, because again, like I just mentioned CPA Today, but that's really not going to help you, because it's not going to speak to anything that you are dealing with. But it'll speak to what I'm doing, but it won't help you, and it won't help the gentleman that's a home builder or a plumber or someone like that, because those are different industries. That you're going to want to find an industry specific periodical or magazine that you can read on a monthly basis, but make sure you read it from week to read something in it every day, and you do throughout that month, you read it cover to cover.
Thank you.
Here it is right here on the next slide. This continuous learning thing, that's what that's about. That's exactly what that is about. So these are the keys to building a substantial financial future: strategic planning, continuous learning, professional partnerships, and sustainable practices. What that means is you find things that work, and that you can do on a consistent basis, and do those things over and over and over again. I will say this, people on the outside looking in look at business ownership as, ooh, that's sexy. That's cool. I want to own a business. I want to make a lot of money, et cetera, et cetera. For those of us who are out here doing it, we will look at them and tell them in a heartbeat, is not sexy, is not fun. There are good times and there are a lot of bad times. But it's worth it if you continue on to the end of the process. But at the end of the day, what keeps businesses successful, the ones that are successful, that keeps them there, is doing things. It's not the big things that keep everything together. It's doing those small things over and over and over and over again. Things that aren't sexy. Constantly reading business books or industry specific magazines, and attending conferences and things of that nature. Those things aren't sexy. Those things aren't fun. But so if you think about me, for example, if I said, hey, guess what, guys, I'm about to go to attend this accounting conference. Who wants to go with me? Everybody in this room, if they could, they would turn off the computer and run away. But when I come back and I'm talking to Kenyatta or Ruby or Renata or Candy or someone about, hey, I was at this conference and I learned if we do this, and I put together a plan that will allow each one of these people to save $5,000-$10,000 in their income taxes, everybody wins. I have now learned something that I'm pretty sure a lot of my counterparts have not. You all win because it's saving you money. And the next time I say, hey, I'm getting ready to go to this conference, even though those same people will not, still probably won't raise their hand to go with me, but they're definitely going to say, yes, you go ahead and go, have a great time. And I look forward to speaking with you when you return, because I'm learning something. And if you apply that scenario to each one of your businesses, that's how you're able to, let me see, go back. That's how you're able to do this. That's how you're able to grow, just from the education piece alone. You might find something, it may be an idea, it may be an automation technique, it may be a combination of the two, it could be a number of things, it could be a partnership that you realize, hey, I was selling widgets, but I didn't like the painting of the widgets. And you may meet someone that says, hey, I have a widget painting company, and I'm looking I don't want to do anything but paint widgets for other people. And you say, great. Now you come back and you're now selling widgets, and for an additional cost, have your widgets painted whatever color you want them painted. And that cost could be $50, but the person that you're partnering with is only going to charge you $10. Everybody's happy. The person that wants to paint them, they're making money, you're making money, and the client is happy because, oh my God, I've been looking all over the place, but I never could find a blue widget. Ta-da, everybody wins. So attending these conferences, meeting new people, continuous learning, that's literally how you grow your business. The having new customers and all of that is great. Marketing is wonderful. If you combine all of those things, which now comes into, now we're talking about strategic planning. So if we have a situation where we have a new marketing strategy and we're learning new things and we have partnerships that help us provide a product that we didn't have before, and we are able to do this from a sustainable place where we can do it over and over and over again, that is how you run a business. And so when we talk about running businesses, that's the way we do it. And we do it by having schedules and keeping meetings and understanding what's really going on in our business. Any questions?
I don't see any out here, man.
Wow.
You were pretty thorough, so let me make sure here. I don't see anything, man. Good. It's very thorough.
That's pretty good.
Well, if you're done and there are no more questions, as that's his contact information, and when the recording finishes downloading, I'll send it out to you guys tomorrow. And everyone have a good evening.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good
All
night.
right. Thank you. I was waiting for
Thank
somebody
you.
to buy or something. All right. I'll talk to you guys later on.
Thanks. This was very
Bye.
helpful.
All right, good night.
Good night.
Mark it